You guys, I have had this topic pending for some months now. The reason being, I knew what I wanted to ask. It's not the first time we have a topic like this, but I wanted to explore it from a different perspective, which is from our perspective as the people observing someone from a third person point of view, meaning we witness someone who has inabilities since YouTube gets offended, and you are wondering whether you should intervene. By intervene, I mean properly by asking, hey, do you need any help? Or if it would be more proper to observe the person to see how far they can get before they ask for help. Or maybe you observe that they could use the help, but that individual who could use the help is internalizing that they need help, but they don't want to ask because they don't want to be seen as a burden. But also that person could be the kind to be like, I want to try this. It doesn't matter how long it takes me. I'm going to go through this and get there on my own, regardless of what happened in between for me to get there. So basically, there's three parts. There's the part of asking and giving them a break and not assuming that they're just incapable at everything, or ask no matter what, even if you get potentially a reactionary kind of reaction because maybe this person is timid. And yesterday, I happened to go through something that finally helped me express myself in this topic more clearly. And that's why I'm finally recording it today. And that is, there was this blind gentleman at the gym who I have seen before. He has the stick, he has a member of staff accompany him, but at some point they're left to roam independently until the staff member comes back and gets them. They don't really have a helper designated for them. It's whatever they do with the staff, it's arranged and the staff takes care of them pretty much. Well, there was this gentleman who was in the area where cardio happens. It's the bicycle section, then you have the gazelles, as I like to call the ellipticals, and then you have the arc trainers. And behind that section, we have the treadmills. I was on the first treadmill on the corner of the first row nearest to the bicycle section. So he was pretty much directly across from me. But on the ground, there's like this ledge, you could say. It's like a piece of wall that's been erected, but it's not really tall. It's about shin height. I don't know what you would call that. Anyway, he reached that. He turned around, and then he reached one of those machines that are, it looks like you have water inside of it. I guess it's the row machine, but not on the cable machine. It's like its own rowing machine. And he hit that with the stick. And at that moment, when I observed him, I began to wonder, should I ask him, or could this be part of his plan? Maybe he's familiar with the path because when he made it to the area, he legit looked like he was confident about the way he was covering ground. And sometimes I have observed that folks like that will make it from machine to machine with no problem. Somehow they can find the way. For cardio, it's no different. Some of them will use the bicycles, but usually they go for the bicycles. So I thought that he's looking for the bicycle, therefore he's gonna make it to the bicycle. I don't want to just interfere. I would imagine that there's a little bit of a sense of achievement that you get out of getting somewhere yourself when one of your senses has left you. But that is, of course, me making an assumption. I'm not saying that everybody would feel that way. That's just the way that I'm saying that, as someone who has met a disabled person, something they say, although this disability is different, is more of a limited mobility type of thing as opposed to one of your actual senses has left you. They feel better when they get somewhere on their own before you interfere. So with this guy, I observed that he was going down that pathway toward the arc trainer and the elliptical section. And at that point, I'm texting my boyfriend who's using one of the art trainers, and I'm like, hey, that gentleman behind you is lost, possibly. Go check up on him, something like that. And by the time I sent that text, he had turned around, and I observed that there were like two or three women by the gazelles interacting with him. I'm guessing verbally telling him instructions. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, one of them is going to step out, obviously, and guide him in a tactile manner because he won't be able to exactly take the instructions perfectly well given that his sight is missing. No. As I observe him marching back toward closer to where I'm at, there's a bicycle that is occupied by a lady. And I saw when this lady got on that bicycle, I saw her in the locker room as well. Anyway, she was there doing her thing. And then I observed that this guy ended up colliding and pretty much crashing on her. And it looked something like, let me try to demonstrate it for you because I have to demonstrate it. This is the lady on the bike. Pretend as best as you can. I'm the blind guy. He pretty much collapses against her, like kind of like that. And the lady ducks. And he's like trying to like regain himself, but I didn't watch that entire scene because when I saw that, I died a little, and when I start dying a little, I will look down, close my eyes, and kind of like chuckle to myself, laugh to myself, and in the few seconds that I took doing that, he had already headed closer to me. So essentially, I missed out on the reaction that the lady had entirely. I missed those few precious initial seconds. I don't know if she pushed them. I didn't hear a scream. I didn't hear anything like she was disturbed or anything. But I know that it was an accident. I saw it happen. And this is a disabled person, disabled by sight. Anyway, after that, I get off my treadmill. My customer service pretty much kicked in. I lower my mask and I go like, "Sir, could I get you some help?" And he's like, "Yes, please." And then I'm like, "Okay, no problem. Where are you trying to go?" And I get closer to him and he's like, "I'm trying to go to the front desk." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'ma hold your right arm and I'm gonna get you out of here." He was like really close to the ledge, so I had to get him to rotate literally 90 degrees so that we could get out of that little section. And by that time, one of the staff members comes over and says, "I'm sorry, I got tied up at the desk. I'm here now." And I'm like, "Okay." And I leave them, go back to my treadmill. It had 3 seconds before it disabled because it was like no user detected. And I go about my business, still internally dying a little bit, but feeling good. And my boyfriend texts back. He saw me interacting with him and he's like, "Good job." Anyway, I tell him everything was fun and games until he got to this little bicycle section. And I didn't mention anything about what I witnessed about the crash because I wanted to tell him so bad verbally. And when I went to the bathroom, I let it all out. Like I giggled to myself uncontrollably because it was legit funny. And I'm only laughing because, nothing went wrong, no one got hurt. But after 3 minutes or so, 5 minutes, I don't know if the bicycle lady was officially done with her workout or if she was close to being done with her workout, wrapped it up early, whatever. But after that, within 3 minutes or so, she got up, wiped down the machine, and left. I don't know if she left the gym or if she went to do something else. But after that, it didn't take very long for her to leave. I don't know if she was offended. Hopefully not. Because I think, hey, evidently nothing happened. This is a disabled person. Don't freak out. And I was trolling my boyfriend, going like, "Can you imagine someone with a bad attitude? What do they go home and say? I was completely run over by this guy." And they failed to mention the circumstance is just fixating on the offense, which is he got on top of me, he touched me all over, blah, blah, blah. Freak out first, ask questions later. With that said, in a situation like that, I blamed myself a little bit because I saw when he first made it to the area and he got stuck in a similar spot, like where the little ledge is. I, at that moment, considered getting up and approaching him or stepping off from my treadmill and asking him, hey, do you need some help? But my influence of my friend who has a disability, a different kind of disability, going like, we just prefer that you don't try to say pick us up and carry us or push us if we're in a wheelchair or something like that. That is the thing that we don't like. But asking is better than not asking. But sometimes continuously being bombarded with questions, making you look and feel and sound useless or incapable. I know how that can be overwhelming and offensive too. So I just thought of it as, although this is a very hindering disability, I thought, well, maybe this person can actually make it. Because again, he had his little stride going on, and I'm sure that he has done that before, taken that path before a few times. Maybe he thought he could get there. Why would I get in the way of that? And when I approached him, he was super nice, super sweet. He was overjoyed that I was offering to guide him and stuff. And that is when I thought, okay, this is an example of someone who totally welcomed the approach. But I'm just wondering, for the sake and purposes of what is most proper out here in society, is it better that you let the disaster happen and then you interfere, but interfere early enough to avoid them getting hurt? Or is it better to wait until they signal that they're in distress? Or is it better to not get involved at all? I like to play it by ear. I saw when he clearly turned around after he got through the arc trainer area and the gazelle area, and the ladies were like telling him where he had to go, like which direction to take, but they didn't step off. That's when I said, okay, when he makes it closer to me, that's when I'll approach him. But because I didn't initiate my approach after he left the gazelles, he had the opportunity to crash onto the bicycle lady. And that's where my feeling of guilt, my fault came from. Because I had the best vantage point, I had the best field of vision with this guy. Even though there were more people on the treadmills next to me, I was the one on the corner, and pretty much he was directly across from me, a little to the right, and pretty much I felt like I had the best position to get involved. But I didn't, and it led to me witnessing something hilarious, even if it's at the expense of, this individual possibly feeling embarrassed. But I mean, it all worked out. Nobody got hurt. So, what do you guys think? What is the best course of action to take? I personally try to not get involved at all because I just don't feel welcome until I'm invited into assisting. But with a blind person, it's different, of course. The time I got the inspiration for this video was I went to a supermarket to pick up my chocolate milk, and there was a lady putting together her stuff, like her, I can't remember if it was a cane or a walker. Anyway, she had some walking aid, and she had a degree of mobility issues. She was taking her time, it was slow. She was by the carts area trying to get into the electric cart, but I didn't ask her if she needed help because she seemed to have a system going on. She seemed to have a method, and that's when the question arose for me. I could simply ask, and maybe she'll be kind about it and be like, no, I'm fine. Or maybe she'll be like, yes, please. Or maybe she'll be like having a bad attitude about it, because there are some folks who do have a bad attitude about it. And I hate being on the receiving end of bad attitudes because of the line of work that I'm at. I get negative interactions often, to where I'm like, if I get a negative fucking interaction because I tried to get involved trying to be nice to somebody on my time off, I'll be livid. So to avoid displeasures, I make it about me, and I'm like, well, let me take care of me first. And if I see something that warrants my intervention, like I physically see something happening materializing to where it's proper for me to get involved, then I'll get involved. But outside of that, if I can help it, I won't. And that's where I'm at a conflict because I wouldn't want to deny someone help that I can very gladly give. But I think it's a communication issue on both parties. Me for opting for remaining quiet, which is my default state anyway, or this person not being shy and having the guts of asking for help. Let's finalize this. Let's establish the course of action permanently. Should I continue to play it by ear, or should I be more proactive about avoiding offering help, or should I be more proactive about offering no matter what and work on my personal, I guess, attitude of potentially being annoyed when I'm off the clock? When I'm off the clock is recovery time, period. It's sacred time for me. So for me to experience a displeasure when I'm not on the clock, it's like nothing's holding me back here. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't know. But if I receive a formal instruction on this, like a formal advice in the form of one of you guys who always has something great to say about this, or the two or three of you who have given me great advice in the past before, it's like, okay, what path should I honor? Because I'm on the fence on this one. Okay, that's it. Bye.